PFS 9.5, once again, design integration into surroundings with colors, existing structures, screening, disguising, landscaping. Same matter, and we can discuss that further as you like. PFS 9.6, facility co-location, requiring co-location to the greatest extent feasible. The applicant said that other structures were not available for one reason or another, be it that they are already in use or they're structurally unsound for the use of co-location, but it can at least be said that this tower allows more co-location and more use instead of other structures in addition to this one. And then PSFS 9.10, expansion of broadband to rural areas, which this is. And then zoning is agricultural productive, which allows wireless facility use as a conditional use permit. And the zoning ordinance points to the next point here, which is chapter 7.11 of County Code, Wireless Communications Facilities Standards, which has several provisions governing this use, including setback from residences. This tower does propose at least 500 feet from any residence in the area. And minimization of visual impacts, again, something we'll likely discuss, but just what I said before, that there is limited opportunity to conceal this kind of facility. And then CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act. How does this fit in with CEQA? Well, case law, according to courts, calls this a utility extension. And so it does not need the detailed environmental review of that some projects would have under CEQA. We received public comment. Actually, I have a letter here, and I'll hand this to you. So one public comment prior to this meeting, a letter that brought up the topic of aesthetics, finding the tower design, preferring a design other than this design, finding this one very plain and very bare, and finding it to be in contrast with the character of the area, alleging that the photo simulations are misleading as to what the effect of this installation would be, and also disagreement with the applicant's claim that the wireless service in the area at the moment is poor. So that's there for your reference and consideration. So staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the staff report, review the resolution, which includes findings for CEQA and the use permit, and staff recommends adopting the resolutions, or the resolution making the findings, and approving the use permit. And I can take questions.
Thanks, Michael. Questions from the commission before I presume the applicant will want to, or his representative will want to make a presentation as well?
I should mention there is a visual presentation that
okay. Are there questions that Michael can handle before we move into that from the commission? No. Okay. All right, then let's go ahead and ask the applicant or their representative. I'm sorry? Okay. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I will, the arrows, okay. All right, good evening. My name is Kevin Gallagher. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, the Towers of California LLC. They're an infrastructure that work with carriers like Verizon to make build-to-suit facilities. So the facility is being designed to Verizon specifications, and all of the data I'm going to be showing you on the need for the site and the coverage will be Verizon data. It will be engineered so that other carriers want to co-locate. They can also go there. As is, it will just be for Verizon customers, except in the instance of 911 calls, which go to the nearest facility regardless of who your carrier is. I will kind of skip through this. I hope I won't be the first person that you cut short, sir. A lot of this is duplicated by what staff have already told you, so I'll skip through a lot of these slides. But the general area, yes, it's on a large 28-acre agricultural parcel. It's about 3.4 miles north of Hollister. It's a corridor where, one, there's a lot of commuters, and there's also a lot of residences, particularly to the north. This is an area that's very difficult to serve because you have areas that are not really particularly densely developed, but each parcel, you have parcels of several acres that all have single-family residences on them. So you have a pretty broad area that needs service, that has a lot of subscribers, but you can't easily put down a facility anywhere without being within 500 feet of a residence. So what we've essentially done is we've found a location that, one, is close enough to cover these areas, but far enough out, kind of to the south, that it is further away from residences than other locations. So I'll get you a little more information on that, the arrows, right? Okay, so we already went over what the facility looks like. I will note that these bits down here would be where a future co-locator could go. The gear up top and what was in the photo simulations would be Verizon's equipment. I will note the top of the facility right here is 77 feet. 82 if you count the little lightning rod at the top, which doesn't really show up from a distance too well. One of the comments that was made, particularly with the opposition, that the monopole design is not the best one in the area. We proposed it here because there's not a lot of tall trees. Mono trees work best when there are a lot of trees of comparable height in the area that they can kind of blend with. If there aren't, the silhouette kind of stands out against the horizon. So we can certainly do it that way. We would be open to it if that's what the commission thought would be the best idea. What we would need to do that was the way a monopine works is that it needs to be tapered at the top. If you keep the height exactly the same, it's conical, it looks like a toilet brush. So if you did want us to go the monopine route, we would need to increase the height about 8 feet. And that would be from the 77 feet. So we would need to have it at 85 feet rather than the 77 or the 82. The lightning rod can just go within the branches so that we wouldn't be counting from that. And that would give enough space to kind of taper upwards. I would argue in this case that it would be more visible because in the Sims, you're going to see it more of a distance, whereas something that's kind of, you want us to paint it like a flat gray, for example, that can blend with the sky pretty well. You don't really notice it's there. The actual height, to put it in perspective, the standard public utility poles along the road are like about 30 feet. So this is about 3 times the height of one of those, but it's also about 500 feet set back from the road. All righty. Okay, so in terms of the location, the need, I've kind of talked about that already, but this is the area, and you can't actually see that. All right, well, I'll just point. The area north of there is sort of what I'm talking about. This broad area. When we kind of get to the maps, you'll see that those are the areas that have not only just kind of outdoor coverage, but marginal coverage that's not reliable. So our goal here is to, one, provide coverage to those areas, and then also offload a site called Hollister Airport, which is a couple miles over to the west, that is currently at peak hours, it's over 80% capacity. To take a step back on that, there's 2 problems here that this site will solve. One is coverage. One is capacity. To put that in kind of basic terms, coverage is when you don't have any bars on your phone. Capacity is situations where you have bars on your phone, but you still have difficulty making a call. That's often in areas that have lots of people or don't have enough facilities. We're dealing with both issues with this particular site, and it's situated so that it can deal with both problems. So here's the area we're talking about. I'll just actually kind of go back here. We can see the area to the north. Here's the facility. You can see all of those gray areas to the right. Red is reliable outdoor coverage only. Yellow is reliable in vehicle coverage. Green is reliable in building coverage. And the gray is marginal. So you see lots of areas that are developed that have homes that have poor coverage. This site is designed to fill that. Hollister Airport, the site I was talking about, is the one right up there. About a little over, I am blanking on how far away it is exactly. I would guess about a couple miles, but a little over 2 miles, yeah. Okay, so this is what we're talking about with Hollister Airport. This is actual data as to how this site is doing. Both the green and the red are showing. And what you see here is this is 12 a.m., 12 p.m., 12 a.m. Each up and down is a day. So you'll notice at nighttime, nobody's really using it. We got plenty of capacity. During the daytime, we're hitting up towards 80, which is the red line. That's the time when call quality and throughput really starts to go down and you start having issues. Alrighty, so this will improve coverage in the areas where we showed you on the map, but if you're also served by the Hollister site, your service will also improve because some of the load that's going through there will now be going through this one. Okay, in terms of alternatives, we did try to do a co-location here. That's what's preferred under the county. Unfortunately, there are no viable co-locations. We've got existing Verizon sites to the south that you can kind of see on the map. There's another one just upside to the west. The existing sites in the area, we've got two that are nearby, a few miles off, I should say, AT&T and T-Mobile. Neither one of these is placed to fill the coverage gap. The T-Mobile will cover some of those areas, but the further issue with that is we did contact the tower owner. The lease is expiring in 1 year's time. It's not going to be renewed, so that facility is going to be going away. So that will not be an option going forward. So even if it did work, it would not be a viable option. Beyond that, we did have a handful of other locations that we did consider. For all of them, we need a willing property owner. It needs to be buildable, and it needs to obviously fit the code. We had a few other sites that did have interested owners, but that were more intrusive, didn't fit the coverage, or could not comply with the 500-foot setback. And happy to answer questions on those. Very briefly, we do comply with the RF guidelines, the FCC safety guidelines by a wide margin. We include the report always just to investigate that. It's at 10%. 10% meaning 99% means you're still complying, so we're at a tenth of that. Similarly, it complies with the county noise limits. The noisiest thing with it would be the generator, but that complies by a wide margin just because of how far it is from residences. The nearest residence is about 600 feet away across Fallon Road. It would only be running about 15 minutes every other week just to keep the generator, the emergency backup generator's motor in working order. And obviously when power is out. It would be running when commercial power is out to ensure the facility still works. Okay, we've already really gone through the photos. I'm happy to answer questions on these. As far as the distance, they are 1,300, 1,500, and 1,900 feet away. These are the views that we had and how far off they are. The way these are done is the gentleman takes a photo from the location, from that vantage point, and then he creates a 3D model of the area, of the terrain, and all of that, and then builds within that model. He builds a model of the facility. And then places it within there, verifies it, superimposes it back on the photo. So it's a very rigorous, the math is done by the computer so that it is accurate and proportionate to how it will look from various locations. And we've kind of already gone through these, so I won't labor it. And then staff did also go through these. We're happy to talk about design and all of that. I do have a few requests on condition of approvals. We don't wish to be difficult here, but we're going to be a bit difficult here. One of the requests from Public Works, and I talked with, I don't know if Eddie is here today, I called him and asked about it, and just to let him know that we are going to request that 2 COAs be removed. And for us, this is a fairly serious item. That this would be something that if the commission was not willing to do this, we would actually ask for a continuance so that we could provide more information on it. What it asks is that we widen Fallon Road and then dedicate along Fairview Road, along the entire frontage of both. And that is over 2,000 feet of roadway. Just the 10-foot widening, assuming the county wouldn't want us to be replacing asphalt or whatnot, that would be $120,000 to $150,000, which would be about a quarter of the budget of the project, which is disproportionate given the impact. We would also say that there's excuse me, the awkward part is when I run out of, I'm getting my mouth all dry. The other issue is that there's not a nexus between these requirements and the project. If we were proposing to put in 300 homes at the edge of this road, at the end of this road, obviously there would be a nexus. There'd be an increase in the use of the road as a result of the project. In this instance, it's going to be visited, once it's built, it's going to be visited every other month by a cell tech. They generally are in a car or a pickup truck, depending on the terrain. They run through the checklist. So absent a nexus, we would say One, it's disproportionate, and two, there's not a nexus. So it would legally, it would be a taking. It would be a requirement that the county would not be able to ask for under the law. And I'm happy to answer questions on that, as I know staff is hardworking. We trust staff, all of that. We just want to be able to raise these concerns with the project. The other one, I spoke with Hollister Fire the other day, and it's about a specific condition that requires 100 feet of defensible space around the tower itself. This is not a normal requirement for cell towers. I haven't seen it before. I've been doing this for about 9 years now. And so even with more strict stuff. That said, we take stuff from the fire department very seriously. So we looked into it. So I did ask Hollister, and they said it came from Public Resource Code Section 4291, which falls under areas that are in the SRA, the state responsibility area that CAL FIRE is technically responsible for, which have kind of these more rigorous setbacks. But it's not intended for these sorts of buildings. There's an exception in there that enables CAL FIRE to waive that. So I actually called up Luis Perez just the other day. I don't have anything in writing that I can provide to you guys, which is why I'm going to make the ask that I am. And that is that they would normally waive these things for cell facilities because the exterior, as is noted in a different subsection right here, subsection C1, the structures with exteriors constructed of non-flammable materials are exempt. So what I would ask for would be to just cut that specific maintain 100 feet of defensible space and just replace it with comply with all applicable fire regulations. I'm not asking you to give us an out on any kind of fire rules. We just believe right now, as drafted, this requires more than is actually required under the law. So if CAL FIRE comes back and says, no, we want that here, we've reviewed it, or if the fire department says it during the building permit process, they can still require, they can make whatever requirements are necessary for fire safety. So happy to answer questions on that as well. And finally, a very minor one. There was some wording in one of the conditions of approval referring to a retention pond. I did speak with Public Works, and they said, yeah, this is an example. It's the area, the footprint 40 by 40 is much too small to need a retention pond. So we would just ask that we be held to the regulations. This one we're much less concerned about because we know the intent, we know the drafting, but we're just asking for that edit there. But just to make sure that there's no obligation to build a big retention pond, because obviously it's working, it's ag land, and we don't want to take land out of production without good cause. So with that, I'm sorry, I loaded up a lot in the end there, and that got kind of into the weeds, but I'm happy to answer questions. And if I can reserve any time, if there are concerns that are raised, from the public or from anybody else, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
All righty.
Questions from the commission for the applicant?
Yeah, I do. How close are you going to allow the farmer to farm up alongside of your tower? I'm worried about that for your fire stuff. I know the area. How close are you going to allow that farmer to come up to your fence? Sure. And that'll be for fire safety right there.
Sure. What we've got.
And what are you going to do on the inside of the fence to maintain it clean?
To maintain the fence.
Inside, you're going to put a fence around it, I assume, right?
Yeah, the 40-foot chain link fence around the facility, all four sides. So all of the gear is actually. The tower is dead center in a 40 by 40 foot compound. Is there a plan set that's included?
No, I understand. I understand all that.
Okay, you got it.
What are you going to do for weed abatement with inside of your fence?
Inside is gravel. And then there's obviously there's the concrete pads for the generator and the equipment cabinet.
Permeable felt down before you put the gravel? No weeds come through that?
I'm not a construction guy, but that's something there. If we want to have that included in plan check, that's be done as part of the building permit, we would certainly do that.
Okay. And then the other thing, within one way is 10,000 feet, the other way is about 8,000 feet. And these towers look like water tanks. Why can't we have one look like a water tank? You're going to be in the exact same general area, and they're aesthetically better than your monopole. Why don't you consider putting a water tank out there? So it looks like a water tank, I should say.
Yeah, the issue with water tank sites is that you can't really co-locate on them. They're very purpose-built. You get this structure, And I've seen them around. We've done them before. But the reason we caution against them is that once you build it, somebody else cannot easily co-locate it. So if you have a few years from now, you have AT&T comes in, or T-Mobile or someone else, they're probably dealing with the exact same gap. They can't go in the water tank too well because of structural reasons, because of how these bespoke things are made. You need to be able, there's two issues with antennas with water tanks, haven't dealt with them. One, it's a cylinder. So these things do have heat, so you need to cool it. So there's limits as to how much you can get in there. Two, you need to have a lot of separation so you don't have interference. You can, again, this is doable, but it's something that limits how many carriers you can get on there. With a monopine or a monopole, we can get 3 carriers on one facility easily. With a tank, if someone else comes in, they can use it, for example, in one of these presentations. If you say, why aren't you co-locating on that? They can then give you a presentation on why it's not feasible to do because of the design is not co-locatable. So does that answer your question, sir?
It answered my question, but it's not answering my question at the same time. But what about a windmill? A nice looking windmill tower. There's one in Gilroy that's beautiful and it looks really, really cool. Why don't you consider something like that?
I'm not familiar with the Gilroy one. Are we talking like a lattice with a windmill thing up top?
No, it looks like a real true windmill.
It's got the four legs.
It's got 4 legs and looks just like an old fashioned windmill that we out in the middle of the countryside pumping water. Have you ever thought about that?
In this case, when we get into stuff that's very bespoke, a lot of it's not commercially feasible in areas that don't have a ton of folks. I know that's not the most convincing answer, but if we're trying to serve a broad area, a sparse area, sometimes those things are difficult. So that's why with these stealth things, we go with mono trees.
I know, it's cheaper to build this than to do that. I get it. Thank you.
Other questions from the commission? I have one. More of an observation. The first one is an observation. It's a bit confusing that in some of the materials that we were provided, the project is being referred to as Spring Grove. Mm-hmm. And I guess that was one of the sites that you initially looked at, and maybe that had been the plan, and then this became the alternative at some point?
No, that's more of an issue of it's difficult to make a large organization move. When these projects are drawn up, the first step is an engineer looks at where the holes in the networks are, and they have to come up with a name. So if there's some street in the area, they grab it. Sometimes it's nearby, sometimes it's not. So I wasn't involved that early, so I can't tell you exactly where the name comes from, but yeah, it's just a name.
Okay, well, that's really minor. Then the next question I had is the photos, the 3D simulations. Mm-hmm. In particular, view 3 was taken from some, I don't know, more than 1,000 feet away. Yes. And the road directly in front of the tower gets a lot closer to the tower than where that third viewpoint was taken from. Why not take a photo from there?
If you would like the photo from there, we can send the photographer out and get a new one. That's not an issue. If there are, for these sorts of questions like that, and on the designs as well, if you need more information to make a decision, we are happy to ask for a continuance and provide additional simulations and additional materials. That's not a problem.
Okay. And the last question I had was, I think, something that's going to be perhaps answerable by county council and or the applicant and or some combination thereof. You cite a particular state law with regards to notification of changes to the general plan, changes to zoning ordinances, changes to various and sundry things that could affect the project, and the fact that the county will be required to notify you of those things periodically. I do note in my research that periodically has been interpreted to be in every as little as 6 weeks. We would be sending you some sort of report. I'm not sure if, is the county prepared to, well, if it's a legal requirement, it's immaterial whether we're prepared to do that or not, but is the county able to do that, number one? And number two, is that a legal requirement? And number three, it said that we could charge a reasonable fee for providing these documents. I don't know how we settle on what such a reasonable fee would be. Anyway, anybody who cares to chime in on that, feel free.
If I may, to
Absolutely.
begin, you're referring to Government Code Section 65945, which is referenced there, and it's just referring to at the time of filing for an application for a development permit with the city or county, the city or county shall inform the applicant that they may make a written request to receive notice from the city or county, and the aspects as far as the fee are also included and provided for there. The specific amounts can be set by a fee schedule by the county, which I believe we have set up as far as pages and notices required. As
So-
far as capacity, I defer to Abraham.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's required by law, we'll do our best to address it, but. yeah,
So would
it's-
we have to, in your interpretation of this law, would we be required to, as often as every 6 weeks, provide a document stating that nothing has changed with regards to, that could affect this project, or?
So the applicant specifies in their request the type of proposed action they're requesting notice on. And as far as it being that detailed, I don't know that the applicant is willing to
can-
speak to that.
I can speak
here
to that.
Okay, thank you.
We include this in every application, and the purpose of it is, it's not an ongoing item. It's, if we submit an application in, and the code is updated a month in, and, you know, we're ordering stuff and preparing, that we just be notified by so when the whole thing is done, then it's not indefinite. It's just, if the code changed last week, I would have,
Okay, because.
and everybody does it anyway, but
Well,
we ask for
the
it.
reason why I ask is that normally, or at least in my experience, when an applicant wants to lock in the current ordinances and general plan and be assured that they could develop under those ordinances and general plan, zoning, whatever, that usually results in the negotiation of a development agreement between the applicant and the county, and the provision of some sort of consideration to the county in return for that development agreement. Has there been any thought to pursuing a development agreement in lieu of this requirement that the county notify you of such changes? I mean, to me, it seems like that would provide you more assurance that nothing would change out from under you. But go
No,
ahead.
we wouldn't need that level of assurance, just because, again, when the site is approved or denied, however it goes, or continued, once that happens, we don't have that concern anymore. Like, once there's a permit or once it's on air, it's no longer, if it was built and the code changed subsequently, and I don't want to tell me if I'm wrong and tell me to stop talking if I'm incorrect, but it would be an existing non-conforming use, and they would have certain rights under the existing permit. So that's really just during the application stage. If there are code changes underway that'll impact it, we just always ask that we be provided. No intent for any long-term burden on the county.
All right, thank you. Other questions from the commissioners for the applicant?
I don't have questions, but the current drawing is rather hideous. I can think of only one other cell tower in the county that is equally as horrible to look at. So my suggestion would be that it not look like an industrial tower. And I can appreciate your point of view, but unless you live here, sir, sorry, I live here and it's disgusting.
You all control the aesthetics, so we are happy to do a mono tree. If you need additional information, again, we'd be happy to take a continuance and provide that.
But
Mr. Monopole, what are your thoughts?
My thought is what's best for the county. And I like the monopole because even in an open space, I think, even driving across the country, I see monopoles. So, but it's a tough location. The monopole would be my thought, but I think that if there was some other design, water tower or whatever it was that we could accept, that would.
Well, one thing I just want to interject is let's be careful not to get ahead of the public comment, because we do want to take that into consideration first before we.
I don't have a problem with the design as it is.
Okay. And it looks like Commissioner Scagliotti has something to ask.
Yes, I have something, more of a statement, I guess. I was speaking with someone who's been in the cell business for, he told me like 40 years, and he designs stuff, and he's moved on to different things now. And he said, you can make that tower look like anything you want. You can make it look like a valley oak. You can make it look like a black walnut. You can make it look like anything you want if you want to spend the money to do it right. So take that under a little bit of consideration, because I asked the man, I said, does it have to look like a hideous tree? No. Does it have to look like a hideous pole? No. They can design them to look like anything they want. So let's take that under a little bit of consideration, please. Thank you.
Have you heard of that? That's news to me.
Yeah, we can do, in terms of trees, the most common ones we do are pines, because
Because they're cheap and easy and fast.
and one other reason. And I say that I do not wish to, just to provide the information that I have as I understand it. One of the reasons with pines that we do provide pines is that the silhouette of a pine is narrower than the silhouette of an oak. An oak of a greater height tends to be much broader in terms of how broad the trees are. These are essentially plastic, kind of a reinforced type of plastic on the branches. So there are limits as to how far you can make them out without that stuff breaking. That said, we do broadleaf trees. We can design them that way. We can design different shapes and silhouettes. We can get Sims, providing some alternate designs. Like, these are all things that we can do. This is not a situation where you need to take my word for it and take action today. That's not what I'm asking you gentlemen to do at all. If you are not satisfied with the package that we've provided, like I said, we are happy to take it to continuance, get more information, and come back to you. It's not an issue at all.
Okay, thanks. Other questions from the commission before we open for public comment? Okay, let's go ahead and open for public comment. Stephanie, if you can read the rules. Thank you.
If you wish to comment on this item, please provide a speaker card to the clerk. Through Zoom, please press the raise hand icon or *9. Do I have anyone interested in speaking on this item? Oh, Larry on Zoom, you have been allowed to unmute yourself. You will have 3 minutes.
Hi, not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah.
I've had some issues with the audio.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I certainly don't need 3 minutes to make a comment. I did submit a letter previous to the meeting. Hope you had a chance to look at it. One of the issues I raised apparently has been resolved according to the applicant. I have no way of knowing whether the traffic issue was valid or not. My main concern has to do with the appearance of the tower, extremely high. It's just out of character with the area around here. And it's my hope they can do something other than just construct a naked tower with dishes that would be, as I said, just utterly and completely out of character with the area. It used to be a walnut orchard not too long ago. Now it's row cross with apricot orchard across the road, and it doesn't seem to be like the drawings that they've been presented would really fit in with that at all. The other point I raised in my letter was that I didn't think that the drawings that were submitted by the applicant really truly represent what it would look like to have that thing jetting out of the into the skyline. Those are my comments. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Additional public comment?
I have no more hands via Zoom, and I have no public speaker cards in chambers.
Thank you. Public comment is closed. Bringing it back to the commission for discussion and potential action. Anybody?
I'll, sure, go first. So as long as fire signs off on not having to do the 100-foot defensible. Oh, Chief Bedolla, could you please come up to the podium and comment on that?
Good evening, Charlie Bedolla with Fire Department, your fire marshal. I won't make an exception on that. Public resource applies to structures or buildings. This is a structure. Do they have gas? Do they have fuel? Do they have a generator? Is there electrical? So they're going to need to maintain that. They'll get the 100 feet of defensible space through the ag fields. I understand that, but they're going to have to ensure that their facility is taken care of. And I'll use the WUI standard too, and I'll break that in there too. But I'm not going to take it out. It's going to stay in there because it does apply towards structures. So, and I do it at every one of these that we do in here. And if I go out there and I do it, then we will. We get calls for roadside hazards.
That timer's not for you.
Whoa.
We get calls all the time for nuisances, and per the county code 106, it just takes the common citizen to say that's a fire hazard, and I have to act on it. So I will act on it, and I will pursue whatever needs to be done if it's not maintained. And then if it does catch on fire, it is electrical, it does have gas. Which way is the wind blowing? You all know which way it goes. We don't want to lose it up the hills up in that area either. And everyone's, the cattle and the ranches that are alongside with the homes too. So we do it in there. We say maintain it. And that's all we ask. So the 100 feet, they'll get it with the ag field, but maintain their own on bare ground. We don't want like the solar fields where they're letting it grow underneath there, everything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then I have a few more. If you come up to the podium, sir, you can respond. I mean, to the chair.
Yeah, no, I did not realize the agricultural fields were being counted. Our understanding of that was that it would be requiring to take land out of cultivation. So that actually, that reduces the concern a good deal.
Don't go too far. I have, so my other questions were about the road dedication. That's not your land as Verizon. So is the landowner saying that they don't want to dedicate the roads, or is that coming from Verizon?
That is coming from Verizon. I've spoken with the landowner on this. Verizon would be the one bearing all the costs associated with the project, including widening the road.
I'm talking about the dedication of the land.
Oh, the dedication of the land? You know what? I have not made the specific ask of the property owner as to whether they would be okay with the dedication, so I can't answer that.
I've never seen it before, but I thought, oh, wow, we're getting a sweetener. But then you dashed my hopes.
Sorry.
Because the road improvements apparently are also not part of this. Then the only other thing was I would love to see what different designs you can come up with, other than a monopine. I mean, other than the industrial look. That
Okay.
Industrial is definitely not acceptable to me. And the monopine is not much better. But if you can come up with something else, I'd love to see it.
Other looks, all righty.
And I would like to see a photo from that location on, I guess it's Fairview, that is closest to the tower, the public road.
Fallon. would be
Fallon, sorry. The location on Fallon, which is closest,
Closest to the,
point to point, closest to the tower. Yeah.
we can do that.
What kind of time frame are we looking at for continuous that works
Yeah,
for the
good
applicant?
question. If we were to continue this, how long would it take to get this information put together, including, potential redesign as well as getting another photo taken?
I would need to confer with engineering. I would prefer to do it to a date uncertain today, and then it would need to be renoticed.
Oh.
But applicant bears the cost of that, obviously. Because I would need to get more information to answer all these questions. I wouldn't be comfortable saying.
Okay,
Okay,
fair enough.
that makes it easy.
Fair enough. Is there an appetite among the?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, I'll make a motion to continue this until a date uncertain.
I'll second.
Second? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, continued to a date uncertain.
Before we go to the next item,
Yes, please.
I have some comments for staff. The last hearing that we had for a cell tower, I asked for information and as of yet haven't received it. And those questions were how many towers were in the county and how many of those towers had co-location. And also for a number of years, we've been asking about updating the ordinance in general. And my memory is not what it used to be, but I thought last year REL said that the board had provided funding to update the ordinance. And I'd like to know where we are with that, because every month that goes by, we're getting more cell towers, and I'm tired of looking at monopoles. And I'd like to see if there's anything that we can do if we have the votes.
Thank you for that.
And-
Abraham, if you allow me to do that, I'm Esperanza Colio, I'm the County Executive Officer. I had the pleasure to talk to some of you today, and we are scheduling a meeting with the board, a joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors, in which you will have an opportunity to discuss with them your concerns about changes that you would like to make to the process. I think it's important for them to hear your voice directly. This is going to happen at 11 o'clock in the meeting for, I think it's at 12? I think I say May the 12th.
Yeah.
So I will invite you to maybe start putting together some ideas. We can schedule a meeting, myself with maybe two of you, to discuss those items, so the staff will get ready to respond to those questions when we have this joint meeting, and so they can get direction from the board, if that is okay with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, I guess we're ready to move on to the Hippo Harvest item. So item 7.2, approve county planning file PLN 25009, growing, packing, and shipping leafy greens. And I will turn it over to Abraham.
Thank you, Chair Way and members of the board. Good afternoon. Abraham Prado, Director of Planning and Building Services, County of San Benito. In August of 2025, the Board of Supervisors adopted a contract between the County of San Benito and EMC Planning Group to prepare the environmental work for pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act for Hippo Harvest. And that is an application that consists of a proposed 45,000 square foot central processing building and 28 acres of greenhouses for ag processing. In January of 2026, staff took an item to the board for a contract amendment for some minor modifications that were being looked at. And during that time, from August to November, as you all know, we went from having a planning department of 5 planners to 1. And so with the okay of administration, we actually also, with that minor amendment, that contract amendment, asked EMC to include, as part of the contract amendment, additional work to have the process of the application throughout the public hearing. So the Board of Supervisors looked at that contract amendment in January and they approved it. And so therefore, we have Troy Lawson from EMC Planning Group, who is here, who's going to be presenting the project. And we also have Shoshana Lutz online. She is a senior planner from EMC as well. And we've been meeting and discussing this project all along. And we also have Acting Public Works Administrator Deems Katara here in the audience as well to address any utilities or traffic road matters as well. So with that, I will present Troy Lawson, Associate Planner with EMC, to come and provide us with the staff report. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Troy Lawson with EMC Planning, and joining us virtually is Shoshana Lutz, also with EMC Planning. So tonight's project is 2370 Shore Road. We are going to discuss the location, applicant, a little bit about the project and infrastructure, the consistency, and CEQA. So it's at 2370 Shore Road, approximately 3 miles northwest of Hollister on the intersection of Shore Road and Fraser Lake Road on 2 parcels. The project site currently consists of row crops and a single-family residence, barn, and appurtenances. And those row crops grown include chicory, sunflowers, celery, Brussels sprouts, fennel, and pepper varieties. The applicant is Hippo Harvest. They are a grower, packer, and shipper of leafy greens. They grow USDA certified organic produce in hydroponic greenhouses known as hoop houses that use mobile robots as tractors. Hippo Harvest partners with outdoor local growers to combine indoor and outdoor production. So the project description, the project would consist of the demolition of the existing residence, barn, and appurtenances, and at full build out, it would construct a 45,000 square foot central processing building with a maximum height of 23 feet and 30 acres of hoop house greenhouse structures measuring approximately 31 and a half feet wide 147 feet long and 21 3/4 feet high. And approximately 25 acres of the existing row crops on the northern portion of the project site would remain. The project would also include 3 1-megawatt combined heat and power microturbine generator units to generate electrical power. These burn natural gas to produce heat and energy, and the units would operate for 13 hours each day for 6 days a week. Regarding tree removal, the project would remove 15 trees at full build-out. Those are around the residence. Those consist of a row of pepper trees, 1 large deodar cedar, and small almond trees located adjacent to the residence. And phase 1 would not require any tree removal. The project would have several phases and would increase employees during those phases. Phase 1 would have 10 employees per shift with 2 shifts per day, so a total of 20 employees. Phase 2 would add 10 additional employees per shift, and then full build out would have a total of 60 employees per day. So 2 shifts per day, 30 employees per shift. The project would operate from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and the shift times would follow a 6 a.m. to 2:30 and 11:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. schedule. Regarding infrastructure improvements for the project, it would utilize a private groundwater well and an existing groundwater well and construct new water lines. It's estimated to result in an 80 acre-feet per year reduction in water demand compared to the existing conditions, the farming and the residents. It would require a public water system once the employee count reaches 25 employees. Phase 1 would have 20 employees total. And so in phase 2, when it goes over the 25 employee limit, the State Water Resources Control Board's Division of Drinking Water would require a permit to consider it a public water system. Regarding wastewater, the project would construct a private septic wastewater system and leach field located to the north of the greenhouses. Stormwater infrastructure would include drainage channels, detention ponds, and/or swales. The project is designed to retain stormwater on the project site to the greatest extent feasible through the use of permeable drainage features like French drains. The electricity would be provided with an existing connecting to an existing line, and then it would also construct solar panels between the rows of the greenhouses for additional power generation. And then the central processing building in the center would use electricity for energy, but would not include natural gas. Regarding natural gas, it would connect to an existing PG&E natural gas service line, and the natural gas would power those 3 1-megawatt combined generator units and would provide electrical power and heat to the greenhouses and other facility operations. And an emergency diesel generator would also be located in case of any issues and is assumed to operate 50 hours per year just to make sure that it operates in those emergencies. So there are 4 project phases. Each project phase adds a little bit more development, particularly with greenhouses and employees. First phase just is 4 acres of greenhouses, adding internal roads, some parking spaces with 10 employees per shift. Second phase adds the processing building, or 25,000 square feet of the processing building, additional acres of greenhouse farming and employees, and additional parking spaces, the septic and leach field. And then phase 3 and 4 would add the 20,000 square foot addition to the central processing building, additional acres of greenhouse farming, parking, and employees, and a detention pond. So this is the site plan at full build out. The central processing building is in the center with hoop house greenhouses surrounding it. There's detention ponds on the north of the greenhouses and along the west and east sides of the property. This is the site plan with phasing. The phase 1, it's in pink. You can see it's kind of on the western and southern side with some greenhouses and detention ponds. Phase 2 is in the green where it expands a bit. adds a lot more greenhouses. Phase 3 is in blue, a bit to the northeast, and some of the central processing building. And the phase 4 is in the orange in the southwest, and also the detention pond in the, southeast, and detention pond in the northeast. Here's some site photos of the current site. So this is from Shore Road facing the existing residence. I believe this is north. That would be demolished. It's a single-family residence and a couple barns in that view. This is on the project site facing one of those existing barns. This is from the northern corner of the project site facing south. So you can see it's relatively flat and developed with agricultural uses. And this is from the northern boundary of the project site facing west, similarly flat topography and agriculture. And lastly, this is the western portion of the project facing northeast and northwest. Regarding land use consistency, the site is designated agriculture in the general plan and has a agricultural productive zoning district. The project is consistent with the intent of both designations because it is an agricultural use and agricultural supporting industrial use on currently agricultural land. With regards to agricultural sustainability and energy efficiency and lower impact agricultural practices, the hoop house greenhouse structures, the mobile robots used as tractors, and the solar panels and the combined heat and power units would add extra efficiency, both for water resources and energy resources. Continuing on some of those policies, agricultural support services, the processing facility would be processing and packaging those the leafy greens produced on site in those greenhouses, and transportation through trucking. And this would support commercial agricultural operations. And the project would, like I said, retain approximately 25 acres of the existing row crops on the northern portion of the site. Regarding CEQA, we prepared an initial study and mitigated negative declaration for the project. It has the potential to result in significant adverse impacts, but mitigation measures identified in that initial study would reduce impacts to a less than significant level. The applicant did submit changes to the project plans after the initial study and mitigated negative declaration was circulated for public review. The changes included a reduction of the number of employees in each phase, increasing 2 acres of greenhouses, and a 7-foot reduction in the height of the central processing facility, and the change in a number of and location of detention ponds. And so we evaluated the environmental impacts associated with those. And one of the changes in the detention ponds would result in the elimination of an impact to a potential wetland in the north, on the north boundary of the project site. And otherwise, the project would not result in any changes to the environmental impacts that we presented in the initial study and mitigated negative declaration. So we determined that the public review draft of the initial study and mitigated negative declaration is still adequate, and recirculation per the CEQA guidelines would not be required. We also prepared a mitigation monitoring and reporting program for those impacts and the mitigation measures. And as stated, they would reduce it to a less than significant level. And they were identified associated with air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, geology and soils, and hazards and hazardous materials. I can, let Abraham maybe speak further on this, but recommending reviewing the staff report, the draft resolution and findings, receiving public comment, and adoption of the resolution, the approval of the conditional use permit and the conditions, and adopting the mitigated negative declaration and mitigation and monitoring report program. I am available to answer any questions regarding the environmental document.
Thank you. Before we move on to questions, I should have stated at the outset for the record that I did have a fairly brief conversation on Friday with Michael Brigantino and 2 of the applicant representatives. didn't make any commitments, didn't discuss it with any of my fellow commissioners, so just for the record.
And I'd also like to make that same statement as he just made. I spoke to some of the representatives.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
And I also spoke with Michael Brigantino and told him I would discuss it tonight on the dais, not with anybody else off to the side. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Questions from the commission for, well, in this case, staff representative?
Mr. Chair? Oh, I just want to also say that the applicant is here as well in case there's
Okay,
any questions.
all right. Well, we'll have them, if they have a presentation, we'll let them go as well. But first, if there are any questions for staff, quote unquote.
Does that cover traffic?
Yes.
Okay. Is the existing site closing down? There's an existing site that you reference employees that are
Pescadero.
carpooling. Is that shutting down?
I think that would be a question for the applicant, but I do know that the applicant has stated that the employees would carpool for this 2370 Shore Road project.
That's what I'm trying to understand. So are these going to be the same employees that work at the existing site and they're going to carpool, or is this just some sort of an assumption? I'm very curious.
I don't know any information about a closing of the site. This would be just, we kind of evaluated strictly new construction.
It looks like the applicant is champing at the bit to say something. Oh, apparently, okay. Yeah, so.
I'd like an answer to that question. At the podium, please. So it's on the public record.
Talking about the Pescadero site?
I don't know if it named a site, but there was something about the employees, a third of them were going to commute because they're doing it at the existing site. And I'm wondering what the correlation is. Unless that existing site's closing, how do you know who's going to carpool? That's my question.
Yes.
Before you talk, can you identify yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Eitan. I'm CEO at Hippo Harvest. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited about the project in San Benito County and have really just appreciated the help from the planning department, Public Works, everyone on this. To your question about sort of the sites that we have. So we have a current site in Pescadero, California. It's kind of our proof of concept and research and development site. Work will continue at that site, at least for the foreseeable future, while we commission and build Hollister. We expect that there will be some employees, myself driving down every now and then, but the large majority of the employees for Hollister will be hired locally. I don't think it will make sense for the staff that we have from Pescadero, when you talk about kind of like our general operations staff, to do that.
Okay, that answered the question. I was confused as to why you were referencing an existing site. I was confused by that.
I think we just were saying in our report, we had proved out sort of the robotic tractor technology that we had in Pescadero, and then we were seeking to replicate it in Hollister.
Okay.
It wasn't meant to tie the sites together.
Okay, thank you. I have more questions for staff.
So I can step down.
Thank you. Okay, so that took care of one. So is it standard, the carpooling, that a third of the employees at a site carpool? I mean, I'm curious what the science is behind that.
Based on the traffic report that we worked with Hexagon Transportation Consultants, and based on what the applicant gave us based on that data.
Okay. So why were the initial number of employees reduced? What triggered that? I'm extremely curious. What impact was trying to be avoided, or what mitigation? What cost? There must have been a reason.
I don't have an answer as to why.
Okay.
I just evaluated the information that was given to us.
Okay. Then that will be for the applicant to answer, please.
So as we looked at the project overall, we looked at the labor numbers that we had at Pescadero and the acreage that we were building. And it's just an adjustment to final estimates for what the labor we thought.
Okay, so it had nothing to do with mitigation or anything like that?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, I read it wrong. Okay, thank you. And then back to staff, I guess, we'll call you staff. Are there any thresholds for the number of vehicle trips that would trigger improvements to county roads?
That would be a question that I believe the engineer, county engineer could provide, but it was 110 trip threshold for VMT, vehicles miles traveled, and the transportation assessment believed it would be a total of 102 daily trips. That includes trucks and employee vehicles. And so regarding VMT, it would be lower. And then for site access evaluation for queuing or truck turning issues, the transportation subconsultant determined that there would not be any issues related to queuing or truck turning.
Okay, well, that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm a very curious little creature, and I'm wondering if nobody carpools, does that trigger some sort of improvement to the driveway? And that's why we came up with this number that a third of the people will carpool, because I don't think it's very realistic. But Deems, if you could answer if there's a certain threshold of the number of trips that would require a road improvement to our county roads, such as turn lanes or acceleration lanes, if you could please come to the podium.
Yes, good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Deems Katada, Interim Public Works Administrator. It's actually just based on the traffic study, because there are different uses of cars that we will be doing. If there are huge trucks and or passenger cars, then it will be the traffic engineers, based on the report, that would recommend whether there will be turn lanes that will be required, like right turn lanes or left turn lanes, that would trigger that. But based on the traffic report they have submitted for phase one, I believe there's no trigger for the turn lanes. But we have I'm also just kind of like noticed that the Public Works comments did not make it in the resolution that, I read on the report. So we had discussed this with, the previous management, previous administrator and the applicants, and we had laid out Public Works comments, which I'm not sure if can you confirm if it is on the report? No, because I have Public Works comments which I did not see in the board resolution. I mean, in the planning PC resolution right now. So I printed out my comments and I can read it to you.
Yes, please.
Which supposedly should be included. So because the project will be phased, so I'll just go straight to the main point about the roadway improvements. So on phase one, we have proposed conditions that prior to issuance of occupancy permit or permit to operate business for phase one, applicants shall construct project's driveway per county standards driveway detail. Now, and again, I mentioned because phase one, according to the traffic study, will not impact the traffic. So we are just requiring the project to construct the standard driveway per county standards, which is wider than what exists right now. And then all other required improvements will be deferred for the future phases of the project. And then for phase two, so prior to issuance of occupancy permit for, to operate business for phase two, similar to what we did on a project in Shore Road. Yes, so they are required to contribute $50,000 towards frontage improvements of Shore Road for phase two. So, and again, we had precedents But project on Tobias, we only require 50,000 for that project. So that's what we are also proposing in this one. And all other required improvements will be deferred for the future phases of the project. And then for phase 3, prior to issuance of occupancy permit to operate business for phase 3, applicants shall be required to widen and improve half of 32 feet AC on 42 feet roadbed along the entire property frontage of Fraser Lake Road. And then all other required improvements will be deferred for future phases, which is phase 4. Prior to issuance of occupancy permit for the phase 4, the applicant shall be required to contribute 100,000 towards the design and construction of future runabout. There's a plan of having runabout on Shore Road and Fraser Lake Road. So we are requiring them to contribute for that design and construction. So, and I apologize, I forgot to mention that, yes, they are also required to dedicate right-of-way dedications on both Shore Road and Fraser Lake Road. For Shore Road, to complete the 110-foot right-of-way, actually it's half of the 110-foot right-of-way to their side. Shore Road is, on the general plan, it's classified as an arterial road with a 110-foot right-of-way. So they are also required to do that. And also on Fraser Lake Road, they just have to confirm or dedicate a 60-foot, to make a 60-foot right-of-way for the full right-of-way of Fraser Lake Road. So those are the conditions that Public Works proposes for this project, despite of what the traffic condition says. Traffic study said.
Thank you.
So access to
Yeah, I have
Fraser Lake.
Well, I have a question. Either one, doesn't matter to me. I guess it goes to staff, basically. We're not asking these guys for anything more than $50,000 to do on phase 1. In the meantime, over here, I'm looking for a guy to put up a cell tower. They want road improvements. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I don't, this is for staff. This is for staff. It doesn't make sense. You're asking for one car for every other month, the man said, and we're gonna have, these guys here are gonna have 40, 50 cars a day probably on a busy 2-lane road, and we're not gonna require anything but more than $50,000. We're not gonna require them to put in a full turn lane, right and left?
okay.
I can't figure out what staff's doing
And
here.
I will comment on, before you go too far, on a precedent that the Planning Commission set. We were struggling to get a number out of the previous Public Works Administrator, so that number was basically pulled out of the air, and as it turned out, it was a bargain. It was a fifth of the cost that it should have been. So the $50,000 does not exist. That was a mistake that we made once, and we're not going to repeat it. At least I'm not willing to repeat it. So we have to contemplate what we're doing going forward. That is not a precedent. We're not the Supreme Court. We can change what we do a lot more easily. Just for the record. Yeah, I was stunned that there weren't any right-of-way dedications or road improvements. There's, per the traffic study that's quoted in here, there's almost 9,000 vehicles a day, and it says, oh, well, there were 2 accidents. Well, that just went up to 3, and it didn't turn out too well. So I think that we really need to consider what we're doing, especially on a commuter route, putting big trucks and more traffic, especially during those hours. It's a recipe for tragedy, and I think we can do better, whether as the county or as an applicant. We need to be thinking about what we're doing. The ponds, we have repeatedly failed to contain the water on projects, and plastic, as far as I know, doesn't absorb the water. So I think those ponds need to be deeper. If we can't make them bigger because of whatever little creatures over there, I think they need to be deeper to hold the water instead of having it flow down the side of the road. I have, if we're going to move forward with this thing, the landscaping plan, it says the plan should be approved by the RMA. No, thank you. I think I'd rather have the Planning Commission take a look at it. We've had a lot of issues in the past and present, I think. And, yep.
Could I just point out that we're still in the phase of questions for staff and we haven't done public comment. So we just ask you to make sure that, you know, we're asking questions as opposed to having a discussion per se.
Then I will wait until after public comment. That's fine, then proceed.
So, anybody else questions for staff or for the applicant before if the applicant is, yes, Commissioner Scalio.
Has anyone done a water perk test out there for these ponds and these new septic systems? I didn't see anything when I was reading through the packet. I didn't notice any new perk tests have been done for water percolation out there for these septic systems that you're gonna do. I haven't seen any of that. Thank you.
Response on that?
I can try to find more information on a water percolation test. We did look at San Benito County Water District's annual groundwater documents for the county and the agricultural water management plan. And I can do some further research and work with Abraham to try to.
Wouldn't that be environmental health?
I believe the answer to that is yes, we did do water tests. We can make that available. It should be available as part of what we've submitted. I can't speak to why it's not in the materials you received, but
Okay.
it should.
Additional questions for staff or
Nope.
Commissioner Ringhede?
I don't have any questions for staff.
Okay, well, but does the applicant themselves or their representative wish to make a presentation per se?
I don't have a dedicated presentation, but I'd just like to say a few things. First off, we continue to be really excited about the project in San Benito County, sort of continuing the rich agricultural history of the county, working with growers in the county and bringing business to the county. And we've wanted to work, very closely with everyone and making sure that the project has the appropriate support. That's why we've worked with the Department of Public Works. It's why we've worked with the Planning Department. So I just want to express that, we do want to be collaborative and have tried to be collaborative in the process. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Did that generate any additional questions from the commission for the applicant? No?
Not at this time.
All right, let's go ahead and open it up for public comment then. Stephanie, if you could. Well, I suppose if there is no public comment, then there's no point in reading the rules again, but if there is, then please read the rules for public comment.
I have no public speaker cards, and I have no hands via Zoom.
Thank you. Then public comment is closed, and let's bring it back to the commission for discussion and possible action. I'm sorry. I thought it. I apologize. I thought it was on. I lost track of how many times I had clicked it. Anyway, so public comment is closed and bringing it back to the commission for discussion and possible action.
I have a couple more questions. The greenhouses, what are they gonna be made out of? What kind of material are you making the greenhouses out of? And what kind of base are you putting between the greenhouses for weed abatement, or what are you gonna put between the greenhouses? What's it gonna be?
Yeah, so the greenhouses are kind of like your standard prefab double poly hoop houses that we're going to build.
The metal.
Yeah, metal frame, kind of what you see sort of all over the place. In between the greenhouses, I don't, off the top of my head, know what we'll do. We will have an interest in weed abatement. We don't want like pests in our greenhouse, so we will be maintaining it. As to like the very specific strategy, I don't know off the top of my head, but I can tell you we have a vested interest in not having that
Okay, the other question is, you're gonna destroy the two houses to the southeast corner, right? Yes.
I believe it's
There's
a
one house
and
and
a
two barns
barn.
there, okay,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
southeast corner.
Yeah,
What are you
that-
gonna do to mitigate the noise for the people that live right next door there? Because there's two homes that are right next door to where that house is. What are you gonna do to mitigate the noise for those people?
I think, we will follow all the best practices and guidelines for construction. I'm not a construction person. We'll be working with, a general contractor and a construction crew that's mindful. I'm confident that there's also regulations around this that we must follow, but I don't off the top of my head know what they are.
I actually had a question that dovetails on that, if you don't mind, okay. One of those structures, I believe at least one of those structures, if I'm not mistaken, is more than 100 years old.
Yes, I believe that is
And
true.
I think under our ordinances, you need to provide a rationale for demolishing it as opposed to incorporating it into your project in some fashion. It's possible that it's in there and I just missed it. Do you know if the rationale is included for why these structures couldn't be incorporated into the project?
I don't know if the rationale is included in the proposal, but I can speak to it a bit now. We had an inspection done of the house. It's in really rough shape generally. There's a lot of termite damage. There's a lot of foundational damage. Like the house it's just a very old house. It's in bad shape. And the house doesn't incorporate into, the operations that we're going to have. So maintaining the house, making the house sort of livable is actually a difficult task.
Aside from being 100 years old, is there any historical value to this house?
I can't speak to that, but I would be
Maybe
surprised.
maybe you can tell us a little bit about the AMR system. That's interesting
Yeah.
to me.
Absolutely. So I guess the way that we grow is we use mobile robots. They look a little bit like oversized Roombas, and we kind of turn them into tractors. So we take these robots from the warehouse and logistics industry, and we're bringing them into farming. And they do a lot of things around the farm. They water the crops. They help move crops around. They collect data about the crops. They can do UVC treatment of it. They can spray the crops. It's kind of like a little automated tractor that sort of goes around. And so the farms are a really cool way to kind of like bring, agriculture sort of forward. And we partner with a lot of outdoor growers. So one of the things that's unique about how we grow is, transition season can be tough in leafy greens, when you're on the edge of it, moving from Yuma back to sort of Salinas Valley, Hollister area. And so a lot of times what we'll do is we'll start transitioning the crops that are particularly tricky into greenhouses during the times when they have the most stress outdoors. And we actually do hybrid supply, so we mix with outdoor growers. So it's kind of like trying to find a way to blend the old with the new in what we do.
And do these products have any longer shelf life, being that they're in such a contained area?
Yes.
What are the benefits to do it indoors as opposed to outdoors?
So I guess there are a number of benefits. The first one is on water use. You use between 5 to 10% of the water that you would use for the equivalent outdoor production. It's just a much more water efficient way of growing. But you're also growing in a protected environment, which means that the microbial load on sort of the crops when you harvest them is lower. And then also because they're grown clean, you don't have to wash, which on something tender like a leafy green can be destructive from a shelf life perspective. And so you have a product that reduces shrink in the marketplace. There are also other ways you can use the product that are really interesting. When you're outdoors and you have high percentage of damage and you want to bring that down, it may be very hard to do that because you might not have any lots that are sort of below your threshold. But this can be a very pure product that you can mix in. There are lots of benefits around, there's no pesticide drift. You use like very, very few pesticides. You can use UVC. It's contained. There's no fertilizer runoff. There are a lot of benefits to it.
UVC, ultraviolet, is that?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
light, to kill mildews, essentially.
Good.
Yeah, also like quick plug for a tour. If anyone does want to come up to Pescadero and actually see it in action, I'm very happy to show folks.
Where's Pescadero?
Yes, I think I have two questions, and I guess they're for staff.
Okay.
Let's see. I think it's true. I think I know the answer to this question, but I want to verify. What we're being asked to approve tonight is not just phase one, correct? If we approve this, we're basically saying you have the authority to construct this project according to the phases that you've outlined for us, correct? So,
That is correct,
so
Chairway.
we should not look at this as just approving phase one. Okay, thank you. And the last question, I think I know the answer, but in case it's a person with a similar name and not the person in question, the letter of support from Victor Tafoya, that is our Victor Tafoya?
Chairway, he actually started working on this project when he was a planner with the county, and then I got turned over from staff. But yes, that is him. Yes.
Okay, thanks. And I think I cut off Commissioner Ringhaden. I think you maybe weren't done.
You didn't. I think
Okay.
I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, and perhaps others? Okay,
I think I got most of my questions out there. I'm very, very concerned about the wastewater, very concerned about that. And I'm very concerned about the traffic impact. I don't think it was done with a brand-new type of traffic study. I think they just pulled some old numbers. There was just an accident out there yesterday. There's been 2,000 homes built south of where the project wants to be, and those commuters use it every day. And another thing is too, is we've made other people to put turn lanes in, and I'm the type of person that is very consistent on what I do. And if we don't do this now and have this done now, we will not be consistent, and I'm having an issue with that. Thank you.
One maybe comment related to what you're saying. We did recommend a turn lane. It's in sort of the original proposal that we worked through with Public Works. I think Public Works decided the expansion on the frontage would be more appropriate. So.
Sir, I have a question for you. You said that you're willing to put a turn lane in here, and Public Works said no? Just yes or no answer, please.
When we said we would make a commitment towards something, we don't care what the commitment goes towards. We're just using Public Works recommendations. In the handout, I can give you a handout if you like.
I do think, though, that $50,000 seems like a really, for road improvement, seems like they're getting off really easy.
Well, that was an issue we had with the previous, thank you, Public Works Director.
thank you.
The money could go kind of towards however the county.
What is this? Well, this would have been helpful to have.
Yeah, did I hear that these comments from Public Works are not part of the,
Had we approved it, it wouldn't have been.
yeah, exactly. So the resolution as presented to us tonight for consideration does not include these conditions?
Per our Public Works Administrator, he would recommend that they be included because they are not. Is that correct? Teams?
So it's correct that they are not included? Okay, well, if that's the case, then I'm certainly not prepared to just rubber stamp this resolution tonight. I think the only two options that I would be comfortable with would be either continuing or denying for tonight. I don't know how others feel about this, but please feel free to chime in.
I feel like maybe a continuance would be that's just my thought, so we can.
And
I would be, okay, go ahead.
With regards to I mean, these were kind of what, Hippo Harvest had agreed to with regard to the road. And I think that they would probably be fine with adding these, if that meant getting approval tonight. Am I speaking correctly?
Yeah, I mean, we were under the assumption that these were included in the resolution. I mean, we've been working with Public Works on this for quite some time, trying to be really thoughtful about at least what they think is required for the project. So we'd, of course, be happy to include these.
And I guess the reason that I'm asking it, because we are, this isn't there, the property isn't owned by them yet, and we are under contract, so we do have time, time constraints, but if a continuance is, the only option, but I think maybe we could do subject to add in road improvements to the resolution. Is that something you guys could do?
Well, there's more in here than just the road improvements. There's geotechnical report, drainage and erosion control, traffic we already talked about. Sorry.
I mean, you're asking us to read this real quick, and there's some other questions.
I don't think tonight is going to work. I think we need to see the language spelled out more clearly of what the dedications are and what phases the improvements are going to be made and what improvements are. Giving us this 5 minutes before we're supposed to vote isn't the best option, and it's not the applicant's fault. This is staff's fault.
Yep.
Squarely. If I may comment now? Am I clear to comment on anything I'd like?
By all means.
Or is there a reason that I can't comment about any of this? We're done, right, with public comment, so I can go? Okay.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I apologize for intervening. I want to ensure that we've been for all of us with everybody on the table. We have a former director, public works director, and we have a new public works director. I'm not saying one or the other one is wrong, but I believe you have the option to make this project more transparent, to continue the project, so that way you address all your concerns. All your concerns are addressed. I know the applicant is more than willing to commit to the changes that they want to continue with the project. I think it's a good project, but I think for the sake of having all the information and the resolution spell out well completely, and address all your concerns so you can continue the project is better than denying the project. I think it's for the benefit of the applicant and the benefit of the staff and the planning commission. I think that will be the best way to do it.
I concur, but I'd like to, if I may spell out my issues that I have. So under the conditions of approval, number 5, periodic review. Toward the end, it says any expansion of this use beyond what is currently proposed must first be reviewed by the planning director and if necessary shall require further use permit review by the planning commission. I think it should just say any expansion of this use beyond what is currently proposed shall require further use permit review by the planning commission.
I would say that maybe just in consideration of the code, where if there are minor modifications to conditions that are within the permission of the planning director, the code does provide for that for minor modifications and for.
That's not what this says. This just says any expansion of the use beyond what is currently proposed, which scares me because we've had some things approved by the planning department that shouldn't have been approved, in my opinion, and I don't want to keep going down that road. That's my concern with this language. It's obviously up to the will of the commission how far they want to go. But I would like to see that language, from must first be reviewed by the planning director and if necessary, removed, those words from number 5. Number 12, back to the landscaping plan. I would like to see it reviewed and approved by the planning commission because again, I have concerns about what's going to be done and what's going to block the neighbors from noise and light and any other issues. An interesting department, and I think there needs to be a little more care taken with what happens. The improvement plans, I guess that includes the roads, which we don't know exactly what's happening, are supposed to be approved by the county engineer. I would really like to see that spelled out as what is going to be improved, the width, the length, all that good stuff, because there's 9,000 people a day that commute on there, and they're not the best drivers, as we find out, unfortunately, on a weekly basis. So I really want to see what those improvements are going to look like. Again, the $50,000 is not a precedent that needs to be followed at all. That was a mistake that was made in haste due to some issues we had, and will not be repeated, in my opinion. I would like to see the language spelled out for the right-of-way dedication and road improvements. And I, again, am very concerned about the drainage, the stormwater runoff. Everyone knows out there that it's practically artesian, especially certain times of the year. And I don't want to see us flooding Fraser Lake because the ponds are too small. It's a battle we've had with the former planning director, or not planning director, building director, no. What was he? RMA. Steve. And I just don't want runoff. And plastic is going to create runoff. And if, you say French drains and little ponds, but all the experts that I've seen before that calculate stuff, everything floods around it, and it's not right. It's not being a good neighbor. So I just want to make sure that we don't repeat, once again, flooding out people that are our neighbors, or the roads for that matter. And I think that covers it. Oh, a condition about best efforts to collect sales tax. I would imagine it would cost a couple of dollars to build the hoop houses and buy the plastic and build your structure. And the county would appreciate the sales tax revenue from those construction materials. In the past, when we've approved something, we've used specific language that something to the effect that the applicant will use best efforts to make sure the sales taxes are collected and remitted to San Benito County. And I would like to see that included in the next draft, as long as you agree to that. It's not mandatory, but it's your best efforts, and hopefully you do your best to do it. And that is all I have.
Buying locally.
Well, if you can't buy it locally, transfer the sales tax base to San Benito County so that we can get it, because
If you could buy it locally, that'd be preferred.
Sure. I mean, we hope to work with local contractors. We've been working with a lot of folks already planning for the project. The one thing while I'm talking is that, like Michael mentioned, we are under a bit of time pressure in that we are only under contract on the property until the end of this month. And so there is a difficulty for us in that we have to decide whether we purchase the property and commit to San Benito County or not. We've been under contract for a year and a half. I mean, we've really been working hard with the county, and I don't want to come here and, make this anyone else's problem. It's ours. It's just, it puts us in a difficult position. We may just lose the property in the time frame for this. So I don't know if there are ways to do conditional approvals or pending something, but I don't mean to make this your problem. It's just also that we lose the property at the end of this month.
I have a follow-up question. How long have you been working on this project with the county?
We've been working on this project with the county for more than a year and a half, because we started working with the county before we even selected the site. We worked with Victor before he left the county, doing GIS surveys, really trying to find the right place to do it. I feel, we've really tried to do everything right. I can understand that there are certain things that aren't perfect here, but we've tried to do our level best by involving every department. We've talked to fire, we've talked to Public Works, we've talked to the Planning Commission, county, everyone, as much as we could for a long, long time.
I have a question,
Yeah.
and I want you to give me an honest answer.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that staff did due diligence to get this through fast enough that you didn't get under a gun for a one-night stand like this for us to approve a project this big? I want an honest answer. Do you feel that staff did due diligence to get this done for you?
I think everyone has been working hard with us I think that there have also been things that have happened that have been outside of anyone's control in the process. It's hard for me to comment. I feel like everyone in the county, including you all, have been good faith partners to us, and I'm nothing but grateful. And I wish I wasn't standing here with this deadline. I really do. That's what I can say, I think.
Do you understand where we're coming from? This is the first time we've seen this, and a lot of this stuff on here that we don't agree with.
I'm not trying to take away from that. I'm just also in my own position.
I understand.
We were under the
Thank you.
impression that you guys had all these materials, you know, it's been.
Okay. Can I direct a
how
question
long?
to Abraham?
Please.
Through the chair, Director of Planning and Building, do you have that language regarding the dedication of right-of-way and improvements that we can attach to this thing tonight if we were to move forward and not continue it?
Those are standard conditions that we have from our Public Works Administrator.
Including the phasing. Before phase 2, this will be done. Before phase 3, this will be done. Is that language somewhere where we can see it or read it, or both? I mean, we can't move forward with vague thoughts because we know how that has worked in the past.
Yes, it is the paper that you have is Department of Public Works' comments, which lays out what we should do in each phase.
Well, again, the phase 2, the $50,000 is a joke, as we discovered with the last approval. That covered a fifth of it, and the taxpayers covered the other 4/5, and that is not going to happen again. So
Well,
there's some work to be done.
If we wanted to move forward, I think we could probably alter that number easily enough.
And then phase 4, $100,000 toward the design and construction of a future roundabout at Shore and, really? We're going to put a roundabout at Shore and Fraser Lake because they work so well? That one's beyond our scope, but that's
Some of them
insane.
do. Some of them do. The
may
turbo
not like
roundabout, I'm
People
not a
going
fan
through
of, but
80 miles an hour through a roundabout to
Yeah.
go over the top instead of around it.
We may not like them, but they're coming everywhere.
Well,
I
we'll see.
would also point out too that they are improving the whole frontage along Fraser Lake during phase 3. So there is significant road improvements. It's just phased. They're adding the applicant shall be required to widen and improve 32-foot AC on 42-foot roadbed along the entire frontage on Fraser Lake Road property. So there are significant road improvements that are taking place.
And I'd like to see the same language for Shore Road.
I have a question maybe for staff on the water retention ponds. We had talked about calculations before where there was going to be a 100-year storm or a 500-year storm. So I'm curious and in talking with Steve, I think there was some consternation about the 500-year storm and the calculations to come up with it. So what did we use here? Did we use the calculations for the 100 or the 500-year storm?
That's something that our Public Works Administrator can. But we also have the
We have
engineer.
the engineer to answer.
Hi, my name is TJ Kelly. I'm the engineer for the project. So the storms are designed to San Benito County standards, which is a 100-year storm coming in, but a 10-year pre-developed storm coming out. So there's a big difference between the 100-year after the development and the 10-year before the development. So it works as flood control. There's always going to be less water leaving than what is coming in. The ponds are rather big. The biggest ponds that I've ever designed. And we can't go deeper because of the high groundwater. So they're maximum depth, and I made the size big enough to meet the requirements. And we're actually releasing less water than we're allowed to just because I can't get it off the site. There isn't like a storm drain that I can connect to get the water off the site. Whatever comes out is just what the numbers say.
okay. Other discussion?
If there's a will of the planning commission to approve this evening, it's going to be quite a feat to get all the language in there because it's not concise as it should be in the conditions of approval.
And I will say that the commission can always move to have the resolution come back for that final signature or delegate it to the chair to approve that language. But you can have a list of the different requirements to modify on the resolution.
So it could still be approved tonight, and just give the chair the authority to make sure that it's done according to the wishes of the planning commission?
Precisely.
You have a big job.
Well, that presupposes approval, which we haven't voted on yet, but,
Nope.
yeah, we could also schedule, well, there'd be no point to that. I was just blue skying. We could also schedule a special meeting to have it come back to us, but there's little point in that if all we're doing is verifying language. I don't know. Go ahead, please.
I have a question for the applicant. You say you're under a timeline for purchasing the property.
Yes.
I personally don't think there's anybody behind you to buy that piece of property right now. I'd be surprised if there is. So do you think you can get an extension? Go to the property owner and send your realtor to the
Yeah, so.
property owner and ask for an extension?
Yes.
And tell him why. Tell him the county staff made grave mistakes that we cannot improve this in one night, and see if they'll give you a 60 or 90-day extension.
We have already gone for multiple extensions to the property owner. The last one was around making sure that we had time for CEQA to come through because the timeline for CEQA got delayed. In the last extension with the property owner, it was expensive for us. It was not something that came easily. Like, we really are in a position where I can't speak for the property owner, but my negotiations with the property owner have led me to believe that they are also frustrated that it has taken a year and a half to sell their property, and they are sort of telling us to,
I got the point.
you know,
Yeah. I mean, this is a big deal, and this is the first time we've had you here. So I'm a little, I don't.
yeah.
Time crunch, I
Yeah,
get.
there's no guarantee that the seller gives us more time. I mean, they could, but I would say, I would lean towards, this being probably the third or fourth extension. And we have significant non-refundable money, so they're gonna have to make a decision if we can't get, an extension. And I would also, look at this project as overall, it's a net benefit to the county. It's bringing jobs, it's bringing road improvements, has a lot of positive, because if they don't buy it, none of these road improvements get done. So I would look at it as more of a overall net positive. Maybe it's not perfect, and maybe there's a way to work out some of the language, that we can still work with our timelines, but, there's no guarantee if we don't, get it today. I mean, we can try to get an extension, but if we don't get the extension and the project goes away, that's kind of out of our control. That's up to the property owner. He could say, no, I'm not giving you more time. I'm done.
Okay.
I'm going to take your money and run.
We won't allow a second, and then we can discuss it before there's a second and go from there.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I think we're in a position to entertain a motion.
So this is brutal, but I'm going to give her a shot. So I move to approve with some changes to the conditions of approval. The first of which being item number 5, periodic review. The last sentence, any expansion of this use beyond what is currently proposed, I would like to strike, must first be reviewed by the planning director and if necessary, so that any use beyond what is proposed goes to the planning commission. Item number 12, the landscaping plan, very concerned about that as well. I would like to see the planning commission review and approve it. We've already talked about those. So then the language as far as dedication, this is going to be fun. From the memo, right-of-way dedication/confirmation. Applicant shall provide confirmation whether a 100-foot-10 right-of-way already exists on Shore Road. Otherwise, applicant shall be required to dedicate half of the 110-foot right-of-way along property frontage on Shore Road. Number 2, applicant shall provide confirmation whether a 60-foot right-of-way already exists on Fraser Lake Road. Otherwise, applicant shall be required to dedicate half of the 60-foot right-of-way along the property frontage on Fraser Lake Road. Number 3, applicant shall also be required to dedicate the right-of-way area to accommodate the planned roundabout at Shore Road and Fraser Lake. Area of dedication shall be approved by the Public Works Department. Along with this, the dedication for items number 1 and item number 2 above shall be required at phase 1 of the project. The dedication for item number 3 shall be required when the roundabout is being designed by the county or during phase 4 of the project, whichever is sooner. Improvements. Phase 1, number 1, prior to the issuance of the occupancy permit or permit to operate business for phase 1, applicant shall construct the project's driveway per county standards driveway detail. Number 2, all additional required improvements will be deferred for the future phases of the project. Then, according to phase 2, I'm going to have to ask Deems for that language. As far as the improvements for Shore Road, the $50,000 is not sufficient. We want the applicant to, whatever the half of the roadway is for Shore, we want the applicant to complete that improvement.
So I'm sorry, I just need to clarify, in terms of your motion, how would that?
Well, that's what I'm going to ask Deems.
Okay.
What's the half of the roadway? How many feet is that for Shore? Is it the same?
The ultimate right-of-way of Shore Road is 110 feet. So
Okay.
that will be a 4-lane road. Now, currently, it's only a 2-lane road. Now, what if you would like, we can change, instead of collecting 50,000 contribution, we can change it into, why don't we just build that 2-lane?
I'm looking for so down at phase 3, number 1, it says, prior to the issuance of occupancy permit or permit to operate business for phase 3, applicant shall be required to widen and improve half of 32-foot AC on 42-foot roadbed along the entire property frontage of Fraser Lake. I'd like to get those numbers for Shore, because I'm not an engineer, but I'd like to get the specific number of AC on the roadbed for Shore.
Oh, I see. Okay.
As a construction requirement prior to phase 2.
That will be, what I would recommend is for them to just build another lane to accommodate the turn lanes. Because again, future ultimate build out for Shore Road is different from Fraser Lake Road. It's 110 feet, so that's, I think, I don't have it on top of my head, but it's in the county code. It's, I think, 96 feet width of pavement, so it's huge. So,
but we need specificity for the conditions of approval. So we're going to say a turn lane of how many feet, how many width, and what's the length of
we
it?
can build the turn lanes.
Okay.
They can build the turn lanes instead of just contribute 50,000. We can ask them to build the turn lanes themselves.
Yeah, at what point do they build the turn lanes? Phase 1?
Well, no, that's phase 2.
It says
but
phase 2.
Is that enough
Phase 2.
specificity that you build turn lanes per county code?
Do you agree with that?
I think the challenge for me on the spot is just that I don't know how much it will cost. We can give more money to the project, like it's not that. It's just that if with the rest of the project, we have a budget, we've gone through the whole process, it's been, essentially bid out. So I know how much it costs. With this, I just need to have at least a general sense of what it costs, or at least like up to some limit language. You all say that it should be less than 5 times, so less than $250,000. based on what was done before. Is that truly the cost that happened with?
I believe it was. What was the cost of the turn lane for the Tobias project? Deems, ballpark, I thought it was like 250 or 180 or somewhere in there.
And to be honest, I don't have that number because, again, that turn lane was incorporated into the project that we had for the whole stretch of Shore Road. So the exact number of just to build the turn lane is, I don't have that specific number.
So
And
If we say we're willing to do up to 150K, does that work for this?
As long as that builds a turn lane, that's the
I mean, I
issue.
would also like it to build the turn lane, but it's the same.
We got a little glitch there in the get up and go.
okay,
What, is there a higher number? Because I want to see the turn lane built and not just a contribution, because the rate the county moves.
You threw out the 180 number, we'll do 180.
Deems, will that get some pavement put down for a turn lane?
here's the scenario. If we accept the money, then it's on us to build the turn lanes.
We have a quote for 177.
Well, yeah,
So you're pretty good with 180.
okay.
If we let them build the turn lane, the county don't have to worry about how much we spend actually.
Well, yeah, but if it's left to the county, there probably will never be a turn lane, just like there's no turn on Las Vibras. That's what frightens me. The county's follow through is not the best.
Yeah, and
I guess what I'm willing to do is we have a quote that says it's 180K that matches your recollection of what it is. We are willing to commit 180K. It's hard for me to commit to getting the county to do something.
Okay, yeah. This is my 8th year. I'm ready to pull my hair out. Okay, so back to phase 2. Prior to the issuance of the occupancy permit or permit to operate business for phase 2, applicant shall be required to contribute $180,000 toward turn lanes on Shore Road. Item number 2 of phase 2, all additional required improvements will be deferred to the future phases of the project. And then for phase 3, prior to the issuance of occupancy permit or permit to operate business for phase 3, applicant shall be required to widen and improve half of the 32-foot AC on 42-foot roadbed along the entirety property frontage on Fraser Lake Road. Item number 2, all additional required improvements will be deferred for the future phases of the project. Phase 4, prior to the issuance of occupancy permit or permit to operate business for phase 4, applicant shall be required to contribute $100,000 toward the design and construction of the future roundabout at the intersection of Shore Road and Fraser Lake Road. Applicant shall be required to hire and retain a traffic engineer to biannually monitor actual traffic impacts of the project operations for every phase 1 to 4 of the project, which shall then determine and provide recommendations for mitigation measures or safety improvements when they are found warranted for the project. Any proposed project site improvements not related to the required roadway improvements shall be built outside of the required width of the right-of-way dedication for both roads. Design of improvements shall comply with county code improvement standards. I think that covers everything, right? That we need to deal with. All the other stuff is just kind of standard as far as geotechnical, drainage and erosion and the encroachment.
And it will be incorporated into the conditions of approval.
Yeah, I think that's a standard set though, right?
Yeah.
All the other language that's part of this memo?
Yes. So
Geotechnical, drainage and erosion and encroachment permit, that's all standard stuff, right?
those are standard conditions.
Okay.
Okay, before anybody seconds this, though, I do have a couple of
Yes,
issues.
sir.
Yep. So I believe that we also are asked to approve the mitigated negative declaration and approve the mitigation plan. So is that going to be incorporated into the resolution, or are those separate items that we need to vote on first?
It's It's all part of the.
I guess that's more a question for, go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's part of the resolution. There's no separate resolution for those.
Okay, okay. Then in that case, I guess I'm willing, go ahead.
Sorry, I have
please.
one more thing, the language, did you find that, Rebecca, did you find that language regarding the best efforts to collect and remit sales taxes for
Oh, yeah.
construction materials? Because that's a big one. We need every dollar we can get. As you've seen, what's happened.
Yes, we can compose that language to ensure it's compliant,
Okay.
and it is now included in your motion.
Okay, and part of this motion that I'm making, this beautiful motion, is that we leave details to the chair to approve when he signs it, to make sure that what is written follows the will of the planning commission, because this is such a unique situation. And that is my motion.
Okay,
It
is there,
also includes the negative deck
Yep.
and all that good stuff.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
You got it. Vincent Ringhayden,
Yes.
District 1. Richard Way, District 2.
Yes.
Robert Scaliotti, District 3.
Yes.
And Robert Gibson, District 4.
Yes.
That is a 4-0 in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
And I'd like a tour once it's built.
You are more than welcome to a tour.
I want you guys to,
Pescadero site.
I do have one thing to say. Adhere to what we just did, please. We're tired of the eyesores in our community. I want this to be pristine. I want people from all over the country to come and look at this in San Benito County and saying they did it right.
Maybe there's something, even though we've made our decision, maybe there's something you can say about the technology and where you think it's going and how you think this will affect this county and being some of the leading technology in farming.
Yeah, I mean, we want to do this right. We've been working hard to do this right. We're really proud of what we built. I'm excited to show any of y'all around our Pescadero site when you have a chance, and then in Hollister when we build it. I do think that what we're doing in conjunction with outdoor growers, kind of finding new ways to extend growing seasons in different regions is really innovative and interesting and solve some of the challenges that we have. I'm really excited about the county. I'm excited to bring this to, a rich agricultural area and take land that, I hear tell has like not so good topsoil and actually make it really productive. We've been trying to do it right, to your point, and been thoughtful about site selection, where we locate it, what we do. And yeah, I'm really, really excited. I think we can bring kind of like the next wave of farming, make San Benito County part of that. And y'all are welcome anytime. And I really do appreciate the flexibility of the commission and sort of the unique situation that we're in. It really does mean a lot.
And maybe when you're finished building, you can have tours for the public.
Oh, tours for the public anytime, really. I love showing it off, so absolutely.
Cool.
Okay,
All right,
Thank you.
okay.
I would just piggyback. It is a very exciting project, and the technology is, it's a really cool thing to bring to San Benito County. I think it'll be an overall net positive for our county. So
Maybe we can get the manufacturing of those things here.
Yeah. Okay, before we move on to 7.3, which I think we can dispense with fairly quickly, but I don't think that's going to be true of 8.1. Would anybody, well, I would like a brief recess, perhaps 10 minutes. Okay, thank you. We are recessed until 8:20 by the clock on the wall there. Thank you much.
Andy, help?
Not really. Thank you, though. I don't know, county council?
Yes, the government code does require a notice of 20 days prior to a public hearing on zoning amendments to our code. And in this instance, going back through the record upon review in advance of this hearing, it was noted that it was slightly shorter than 20 days. So it will require to be properly noticed before taking action on the item and introducing the ordinance.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
Through the chair, then I have a question. So we can't take action, but can we discuss the substance of it?
Yes, this was properly agendized for this meeting and can be discussed. However, as I mentioned, the only caveat is the actual introduction of the ordinance will need to happen at a later noticed hearing.
Okay, good. All right.
Mr.
Okay,
Chair,
then,
I
yes.
just would like to add also that I contacted the stakeholders as well, and they were all okay with the continuance. I just let them know about it. One, Mr. Haywood actually said it worked out better. It was his wife's birthday today, and so he worked out better for him. But
Well, my issue would be if there's, public comment, and if there are people that came tonight or are on Zoom tonight to comment on it that maybe wouldn't be available on the continuance date. So other than that, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and that was it. Just that, like Mr. Haywood indicated, is there any reason why I should be there? Because he had other plans, and I told him that this was the legal requirement regarding the statutory for the ordinance to basically continue it. So
Right.
they might, if they were here, they would probably want to be able to comment on these as well. But they were under the impression that it was going to get continued.
So is there, I take it then that there isn't really a staff report on what these changes are that you want to go through tonight?
We did attach some of the changes, but under the impression that this was going to get continued, the stakeholders decided that they weren't going to be present because they do have comments, and they did want to be here to comment. But if you would like for staff to go over some of these, we would be happy to do so.
Yeah, I
Do that. But I would just like to, through the chair, it looks like everything was deleted.
Yep.
That's what I read. I was like, so there's no more ordinance. It basically the whole thing was deleted. And that was my only comment for this evening, that I hope it's not completely deleted, but there certainly wasn't a need to be overburdensome like we were before. Somewhere in a happy medium, hopefully. That's my
Go
only.
ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Gibson. All of a sudden, I'm looking here, I looked at it Sunday, I'm looking again now, and we don't have an ordinance.
Yeah, I
Is there
agree.
like a happy medium that we should come
Yeah.
up with here?
We can certainly do that, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. We can come back and during this continuation, we could look at some of these and see what we can bring back. But the main reason of why the majority of these were basically struck is because the health and safety code and state code and federal code already cover pretty much all of the ordinance.
Oh.
And so similar to the building code, to where our San Benito County Code just makes reference to the California Building Code, this is part of it. But not to say that we're just not putting them into the code. We actually are planning on having a pamphlet that basically addresses all of the concerns that we have, so they can let us know particularly what they're proposing, because some of these conditions, or not conditions, but ordinances are very specific. For example, 70-foot setback, very specific. It could be that there's an ag use right next door to it, and 70-foot may not be enough. It could be that based on it's going to put it on the applicant to show us how they're going to be able to meet the requirements. If there's a house within 70 feet, how they're not going to be a nuisance to odor or noise. And it could be that 70 feet may be good. It could be less at the 32 feet if it's an ag district, or it could be that they may need to put more of a setback. So we're going to put it on the applicant to show us through the hobby kennels that are administrative or conditional use permit kennels, to show you as a commission how are they going to meet those requirements. So that's the basis of it. But we can go over it and through these, if you have any questions or concerns, to kind of come to a happy medium. And even though these are covered through the state and federal, still bring some and actually include some in the ordinance. We're more than happy to do so. I talked to the stakeholders. For the majority, they prefer to have them deleted, but I did talk to, for example, the ones that have the business, and I went out there, and I know that some of you went out there as well, and they would be okay to include some of them as well. For them, it was okay. So I think if you do determine to continue it, which we recommend because of the law, it gives us this time to kind of try to come to that happy medium that you're asking.
Be mitigated, like if they want to put it in an agricultural area because of food safety concerns, will that be something that we're going to leave in there, or how are we going to handle that, Abraham?
Yeah, and that's a good question. That is part of the, for example, that setback example that I provided, that we'll put it on the applicant to show us how they're going to be able to be that good neighbor and be able to meet the requirements to not be a nuisance to the neighbors, whether it be ag, whether it be a house that's within a setback. And we've been working with legal on this to make sure to see if we need to put something in the actual language or not, and just keep it as is, but still require as part of that pamphlet that they provide us with that language. And that's what's been discussed with the stakeholders in multiple times as well.
Okay. Additional questions from the commission for staff?
Nope. I appreciate the explanation.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, then let's open it up for public comment. Is there any public comment in chambers or via Zoom?
No.
No? Okay. Then bringing it back to the commission for action, possible action, motions.
I move to continue until our regularly scheduled meeting of May 20th, 2026.
Thank you. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Chair, I just wanted to mention I met with the kennel folks, and I didn't disclose that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Myself also, Ken, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
I don't talk to anybody.
You're not going to put it.
Yeah. Nor have I, although I would have had I been available on the day that he initially went there, but we would not have been 3. We would have only been 2 at that point. Anyway, moving on to item 8.1. This is the continuation of the compliance review for Panoche Solar Farm. And I guess we'll have a presentation from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have Chief Bedoya also here, and we also have Vice President of Asset Management from RWE Clean Energy's Shannon Amonet on Zoom, who will also provide us with information pertaining to this item and their interaction with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, CDFW, since their last request back in February to continue the item, and they were talking about a month, but the commission thought it was more fitting to do 2 months. And so I know that Shannon and Chief Bedoya have been talking, and so I'm not sure if it would be Shannon, if we could unmute her to start, and then I know that she indicated that Chief was also going to be addressing the commission tonight.
Shannon, you're a panelist. You should have the ability to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you for having us tonight. I know that we've had to continue this a couple of times because we wanted to come back with a more substantial update. As far as the project, we have continued to work with CDFW, and we filed an ITP amendment number 4, requesting that we can use mechanical measures such as mowing and the use of herbicide at the site. We've also hired external consultants to help us with, the discussions with CDFW. And we had our first meeting this past Monday and just kind of talked through their thoughts on the initial review. And so we're proceeding forward with them, and they still have a period of time in which they can come back with additional comments. But so far it's been a productive discussion, and we're proceeding forward with trying to get the project down to dirt. Separately, I wanted to highlight some of the other items that we talked about, I think, last time. So let me go through my list here. In order to strengthen our relationship with the community recently, we have joined the San Benito Chamber of Commerce. And we've also posted a position with the county. We're looking for some site staff. So we're hoping to also strengthen that relationship there. And we've been working with Hollister Fire, and they actually came out and did a training with the site staff. And that was extremely helpful, and it went really well. And I know Charlie was going to discuss that a bit more. And let me see, I know you had a couple of questions last time. We did submit over the weed management plan. And I think those are all of the big updates.
Okay, thanks. All right, and it looks like Charlie wants to say something as well.
Yeah, I'm up here, Charlie with the fire department, your fire marshal, and we have been working in partnership with them. So it's actually good that they did come up because now we've established a good working relationship with them. I did go down there and we did teach live fire, fire extinguishing with water and dry chem over there. We have been working on them since the last time on the weed. So they have been doing their due diligence to maintain that. And it's been well under control than it was before. And they're doing better on that. We did sign the MOU on the fire response plan with them. So that's already secured, and we're working on the weed management plan. And that's just like a, how do I say, it's a fluid, continuous improvement on it, as well as the, I have their EAP done. They completed that for us, and we're gonna improve that for the fire response plan too, with them on that. So we got that all going on, and right now they're good with fire requirements. And I'm actually going down there Monday too to reevaluate the work they've done too. They've continued. It's kind of the pits because it rained, so it's all growing back all over the place.
Okay.
Possibly this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hear. Okay.
Yeah.
So questions from the commission for either fire or the applicant?
I have no questions at this time. I'll wait till after public comment.
Okay.
I wondered, there was some talk about, maybe I misunderstood, the Fish and Game had an issue, wanted to leave some grass under there for some species. Did I?
And I'll just talk on it real quick. I mean, while we're out there, they have biologists that are out there. So as they're doing their weed abatement, they're telling them, you can't mow here because there's a critter here. They're covering up the foxholes. There was a bald eagle's nest out there. So they're like, you got to go around that part on that stuff. So they're doing some good on that. Okay. They're doing some good on that. And then they do have dedicated area that they don't even touch at all on some parts of the area that they're not touching. But for the most part, they're getting all the stuff that we require.
And you're saying, so for the most part, they've done their weed abatement and it's, would you say there's 2 inches of growth or 3 inches, 4 inches?
It's a little more, but they're getting it. They're getting it. Okay. The roadway, I told them, get the perimeter first, and then let's start hitting those arrays. So they started on the westernly part, the one towards town, and they started working their way down. So I got a picture of that, and I'm going to go check the progress on Monday. Okay. Because they got a little more taken care of. So when I checked it about a month and a half ago, they had good progress, but it rained. So it's a full-time job for them over there. And they do have full-time staff for that.
Okay.
Maybe just a question for staff, that when we have these projects that come, is there not language that says there should be some underliner as other commissioners to prevent the weeds from the beginning? And maybe in the future we can have that written into the language that must be done, because here you have a fire issue.
I could speak on that.
Okay.
It's in the fire code. it's in the fire code regardless. So I wasn't part of it when it started coming and it came up there, but since 2017, I've been there. We've been pretty consistent on everything. And we know the fire code, and we'll make sure that's one of the conditions that they maintain it. If you go all up and down 5, I cruise all through those. We'll make sure that they get that. That's just a condition of approval. Absolutely, they have to fulfill the fire code.
And through the chair, the additional issue was the location. There are so many little endangered species that this project probably shouldn't have been approved at this site. And that's the bigger issue, is we have to pay attention to what we're doing as a body. And that was a failure many years ago. So that's why you can't cover it, because of all the little creatures. It should not have been.
That was found out during the environmental impact
Yes,
then.
and they
So we
didn't.
knew that, somebody knew that.
Yeah, I think
Sometimes
that
there's the
approves.
fox, there's the badgers, they have a whole list of items. But
Yeah, we have the kangaroo rat, the fox, the squirrel, the owls. And so when this project actually came about, I think it was originally in 2012. And I sent over a timeline for you all to kind of just see the evolution of what occurred here. But the project was proceeding forward, and I think, and it was with San Benito County had partnered with the original owner of the project. And I think they were all kind of sued from environmental groups concerned with the project and the size of it. And so ultimately what happened in 2017 was a settlement agreement that San Benito County, CDFW, and RWE were a part of. And so what the project ended up doing is splitting the project in half and moving half of it out of the area. And then they purchased 26,000 acres of mitigation land and donated it back to CDFW. And then they also did an endowment fund where they also paid to take care of all of the land that's there. And then part of the agreement there was that we would have biologists on site, right? And just making sure that if there are endangered species there, that we are cognizant of that. And this kind of was one of the, I think, trailblazers in California of trying to find a way to have environmental with renewables and work together.
Thanks. All right, I guess might be time to open up for public comment. Is there public comment via Zoom, I guess? I don't think there's anybody in chambers.
I have no hands via Zoom.
I'm sorry, no hands? Okay, thank you. All right, then bringing it back to the commission for discussion and possible action.
I have one comment, I guess. Shouldn't there be a resolution that we find this in compliance and it's not there?
Yes, the resolution was attached at the last planning commission meeting. I don't see it in this one, but it's basically indicating that it's in substantial compliance. If you would like to vote in that direction, there's not one that says that it's not, but if you feel that it's not, then we will take the proper measures and take it to the board.
I will commend you that you've made some big changes in the past however many months we've been going at this, 8 months or so. And I am relatively pleased. The proof in the pudding will be whether or not there are any fires going forward. And hopefully this will stop any fires from occurring. If there are additional fires, I guess we're going to have to take another look when it's time to do this again next year. And I will leave a motion until other planning commissioners share their comments or whatever.
I would tend to agree with Commissioner Gibson. I'm impressed with the progress that's been made. Certainly there's more to be done, but it seems like a good faith effort.
I concur. I think if Charlie's happy, we should be happy.
Yeah, and
He has
that's
to go out there and put the fire out, not us.
Yeah.
That's what I was, if you're happy with the progress that they've made, my concern is still that there's fires at all, that there's a spark at all, that the maintenance maybe needs to be looked at so that doesn't have, even if there was grass or something underneath there.
And I don't want to speak for them, but they have what these are called owls that they've installed throughout the facility. So before, when we get fires, it would be the CAL FIRE cameras up on the hill saying, hey, we see all the smoke coming. By the time we get there, it's already 10, 20 acres. But now they've installed them on the facility that they'll be able to spot the smoke a lot quicker, if I remember that correctly, but.
And
that's great.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Oh, it is? Okay, see.
through the,
Yes. There's, I believe, 10 cameras installed so that it kind of alerts everyone that's on the distribution anytime it believes that there's smoke.
and through the chair, I think part of the correspondence from the company was they spent, was it $2 million and a lot of man hours to go through and fireproof the equipment? That was part of the packet. So
That's correct.
I think that's fantastic. It took a while, but I think you're getting there.
Yep.
Yep,
Thank you.
okay.
Then,
So I guess I would entertain a motion.
okay. I move that we adopt the resolution finding this project in compliance with their development agreement.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 4-0. Moving on to future agenda items, item 9.
Well,
Please,
if I may.
absolutely.
Future agenda item would be the telecommunications ordinance, ASAP, along with the rest of the zoning. It's difficult when people ask you questions, and I'm thinking that we have approved something a year and a half ago, and then, oh, no, that's right, really nothing was approved. So it'd be nice to catch up to what all the 2 years of work that we put into it, and get it finalized so that I can remember where we are, because I'm not an encyclopedia of the county code as it stands. That's it for future items.
Other folks, future agenda?
I don't have any on
Okay.
future.
All right, and then commissioner announcements.
Yep, there we go. So I'd like to thank you for all the work that you've done, especially now during the times of short staffing. However, there is an ongoing issue. For years, we've been asking to get the packet in a more timely fashion. We changed our rules last year, the year before, to get the packet on Wednesdays. And it rarely happens. It might happen when the packet's 50 pages or 100 pages, but when we really need the time, it's Friday, and we're essentially volunteers, and weekends, there's other things going on. We have family and whatnot too. So I would suggest, this isn't on staff, not your doing, but the Director of Planning and Building, if you have internal policies that there are deadlines from applicants or staff to get paperwork in so that this packet can be completed, move it a week or two, whatever it takes, because if we have to start continuing items out of protest, it serves nobody. So I would appreciate that if you can fix your internal policies ASAP, preferably before the next meeting. I would be very thankful.
We'll do everything we can, Commissioner Gibson. Thank you.
I would
Second
concur.
that.
Yeah, I would concur with Commissioner Gibson and Commissioner Scagliotti. The amount of time that we have to review the packet for what amounts to a volunteer position, I mean, we do get a very small stipend for this, but yeah, it's not sufficient. It's really asking a lot of us.
Especially when we get one like tonight, that HIPPO project, that was way loose in the sense that there was nothing nailed down to it. There was a lot of vagueness to the whole thing. And at least if we had it sooner, it even should have come to us maybe last meeting as a start. Okay, guys, this is what we have coming at us. Let's open it up. Let's look at it. Because tonight, I really didn't want to approve it, but we had no choice because the man has obligations to a purchase.
And if I may just add that the role that we play is important, even if some people don't think we should exist. And we need time in order to understand the projects and the conditions of approval and all that stuff. And if we don't have the proper time, we're not serving the community that we're here appointed to serve. And that's our biggest failure, and it's out of our control, and we're relying on you. So please make sure it gets fixed. Thank you.
Through the chair. Yes, I definitely would want to make sure that you get it even in advance of a week that we're hoping to. I can tell you, staff is we're doing our best. I mean, we're not just, 8 to 5, we're working 8 to midnight, 8 to 3 in the morning. I mean, we are working, we need the help. So, but no excuses, we're doing our best, and we will try to get it as soon as we can. And hopefully even, prior to the Fridays that we do kindly ask whenever we can make it on the Wednesday, but that Wednesday before, but we will definitely always try to keep that in mind, because we understand it is a volunteer position, small stipend, but it is a very important position. You do a lot. You have the discretionary authority for a lot that goes on in this county, and we do our best to try to provide the facts to you, and we will try to continue to do that with the amazing team that we have. Limited, but
We understand now that you're very short-staffed. Some of us have been up here for several years now, and it's been happening continuously. Right now, I understand. If I get it an hour before meeting, I'll understand. But even before, when you full-staffed, it was happening. So
We appreciate that your staff shortage, and I understand you're working your tail off. But for those of us who are slower readers, to get a huge package, it requires a lot of time. So, but thank you for what you're doing.
Appreciate it very
definitely
much.
appreciate the dedication.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely appreciate the dedication.
It means a lot. Thank you.
It's just frustrating for us.
Additional commissioner announcements? Hearing none, I guess I would entertain a motion. No, you go.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned at 8:47. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.